What's up, guys? How you doing? It's Chad Schleiger, your chiropractor from the Wellness Point. I apologize that I'm driving right now. I'm running a little behind on schedule, and had a thought that crossed my mind, and just wanted to get it down before I forgot it. And so I'm apologizing because I'm driving, because I know there's going to be a bunch of people that are like, "Oh my gosh, you're so dangerous. You're going to hurt somebody." Well, I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking at where I'm driving, and the camera's watching me. And usually the people that are hating on me are the ones that are watching the video while they're driving. But anyway, so the thought that crossed my mind while I was at the gym, man, I just love working out. There's something about that endorphin thing that gets released while you're working out that just kind of clears your head and allows you to think a little clearer and become more creative. Even though you're losing energy, you're somehow creating more. Doesn't make any sense, but those people sitting on the couch won't understand that. So the thought that crossed my mind was this: are you hungry? So there was a guy that was going on an African safari, and the tour guy took him out, and when they were going down the road, they were out in the middle, of the desert or wherever they were, the forest, and whatever's in Africa. I've never been there. Yeah, he ended up coming across these two lions, and one of them was just mangy looking. You could see his rib cage. He was still alive, and the one that was next to him was dead. And so the tour guide said, these guys have been out here in the wild, together since they were born. They were from the same pride, and they were both males. They sat underneath the same tree, the shade. They drank the same water. And he asked the person that was riding with him, he said, "Do you know what killed him?" And the guy riding with him said, "Well, obviously it's starvation." And he said, "No, the lion that died wasn't hungry enough." And the person said, "How can you not be hungry enough that you actually die from it?" And he said, "Well, the one that's alive was more hungry, which allowed him to find something to eat." So the question is, are you hungry enough? And hunger comes from this thing called desire. Desire comes from this thing called desperation. Desperation gives birth to desire. Desire gives birth to hunger. And for those parents that are watching this video right now, if somebody were to tap you on the shoulder while you're watching this video, or you're in a conference of 10,000 people and you're sitting in the front row, somebody taps you on the shoulder and said, your son or your daughter got in an accident and it's life or death, what would you do to get to the hospital? Would you say, well, I just don't want to get up in the middle of this presentation because I'm afraid what everybody else around me is going to think. I'm too timid by the crowd because I don't want to be embarrassed walking in front of them because I sat in the first row. You wouldn't. You'd run out of there as fast as you could. When you got in the parking lot and your car didn't run because the battery wasn't working, would you go, "Oh my gosh, this is a sign from God that we should just stop right now"? Of course not. You would walk down the road, you would hitchhike, you would do whatever it took to get to the hospital. And when you got to the hospital and the front desk said, "Here, you need to fill out all this paperwork because you're a visitor," you'd say, "The heck with you, lady," and you'd run past her, not filling that stuff out. When the security guard stood in front of you in front of the elevator trying to stop you, would you stand there, or would you say, "I'm getting to my daughter, I'm getting to my son"? You would plow through them. There was nothing that they could do to hold you back or stop you. That's hunger. That's desperation. It's not like, well, I'd like to get there. Well, I'll do it if it's convenient for my schedule or my stuff. Blind Bartimaeus, right? So Jesus is on the road to the greatest event he will ever do for humanity, and he's passing through crowds of thousands and thousands of people, and there's one blind guy in the midst of them all that just screams out, "Jesus! Woo! Have mercy on me!" Whew, man. He wasn't nervous about the crowd or what people thought. And it was enough that the Bible said that God stood still, stopped. He's on the way to Calvary. And everybody else in the crowd has a need. God knows their hearts and knows that they need something. But one blind guy that's desperate enough stops him to get the answer, to find the truth, to get his solution, to get the problem solved for him. And that's desperate. That's being the woman with the issue of blood, surrounded by thousands of people, gets down on the floor, and it's not a concrete driveway that's out underneath a tent. I mean, I'm talking like a muddy, messed up, dirty floor, spit, dog vomit. She's climbing through this stuff, and she says within herself, if I can just touch something that he's inside, I don't even need to touch him. I just need to touch something that he's inside, and I'll be made whole. She made up her mind that she was going to get healed before she was healed, and nothing was going to stop her. The crowds weren't going to stop her. Her parents weren't going to stop her. Her job wasn't going to stop her. Her finances were not going to stop her. And she tried medicine for 12 years. The Bible said that she tried medicine, and it made her worse off, and they took all her money. Well, guess what? That was 2,000 years ago, and medicine still hasn't changed. And she went for her miracle. So obviously, there is a difference between medicine and miracle. And this is something that you won't learn on Sunday, that your pastor won't teach you when you go to church, and across the intersection is a hospital called Mercy. And yet people go over there to get healed, but they go to church just to hear a sermon. There is a difference between medicine and miracle, okay? And that woman was desperate enough, hungry, desire. There was something in her that activated that the rest of the people in the crowd, everybody else in the crowd, I guarantee there were other people in the crowd that had problems, that had anxiety, that had depression, that had cancer, that had heart disease, that had a problem with their kidney, that couldn't walk, that had a stammer, but they were unwilling to get to a place of desperation where nobody around them was going to hinder them. And they got healed. They got fixed. So I don't care how nice people look. I don't care how much money people have. I would rather take a person in my office as a practice member, people that are committed, people, if you're in a business and you're trying to find a partner in business, or if you're trying to find employees or whatever it is, I would rather find somebody with zero education, that maybe they didn't look the right way, they didn't act the right way, because you can teach skills, but you cannot teach desperation, desire, and hunger. It's something that activates on the inside of you. So, hunger, do you have it? Thanks for listening. God bless.